What's up, Vault Hunters? So we did get another Borderlands 4 trailer drop today. This is the release date trailer. We're going to slow this down, we're going to do a little bit of analysis and just see what we can see here. I want to get straight into things, but just quickly, the Vault Hunters I've nicknamed Viking, Siren, Exo and Flow. We've talked about the Timekeeper's Towers and the Caged Cities, so I might breeze past some of that. If you want to find out any more, check out my other videos. The main portion of this trailer is about 50 seconds long. I've slowed that all the way down to 10 minutes. I may pause here or there just so we can examine things properly, but let's get to it and raid this trailer for some loot. So right at the start we get this scene with the Siren walking up and opening this very stylized, really cool looking loot chest. A lot going on with that, but I will just pause real quick. We've got in the background here, this is the exact same location that I described as a Fallen style location. I guess it is a Ripper location, but you have this big sort of heat plate or light in the background. As you look down, you've got the two pipes going up, one with the scav graffiti, one with this scrawled graffiti, which is it's a Borderlands 3 asset. You see that in Borderlands 3 quite a lot. A little cubby hole on the right. You can see the platform at the back and the door, and as the camera shifts around to the next shot, you'll see the lower door or part in the wall, and then the area to the left, exactly the same area. So it's a bit strange that they reused that particular location for their second trailer. We've already seen this location, why wouldn't you have done it somewhere a little bit more? However, I will get to a possible reason for that in a moment. Let's just carry on. So, yeah, you see she walks up. As she opens the chest, you have some ammo on the left, then you have 3 guns. The left hand one looks most likely a Maliwan pistol or SMG. The right hand one looks like a Jacobs pistol. And then the middle gun, the legendary that gets picked up, I guess I would put him Vladov. Just off the top of my head. But yeah, you can see the architecture here, just in the background a bit more, how it's the exact same area from that first shot. I will pause that just before she opens, just to look to the left. I think that is one of the towered mega cities in the background, but I can't fully make that out. That being said, you do have the blankets on the bits of rope, which is more like the sanctuary hideaway retreat sort of Tibetan area that we see in the first trailer. Chest opens with a very cool animation. Whether this will be quite like this in the game, it's hard to say. They put this disclaimer on the bottom telling us that everything here is a bit of a mix, and they definitely do that even with a lot of the first person shots in this trailer, because they did it in the trailers in the past for Borderlands 3. So there's our 3 guns. They look like fun guns, nice variety there. The first trailer was a little bit lacking in the variety of the guns that we saw. It was very Maliwan heavy, so it's good to see a little bit more of a mix, and there's definitely a lot more of a mix in this trailer. I'm very happy that this looks a lot more on track at this point. On the left, maybe I'm completely missing something here, but to me this looks like money, paper money in like a money clip, so it would just be money that you're picking up as standard. But later in the trailer we see that the money is dropping with a yellow beam, identification beam. So I'm not sure whether that would mean it's a different kind of currency, or whether there's a value difference between those particular drops, or whether it's a mistake. But it seems strange that we'd have white for money here and yellow later on, but we'll cover that as we get to it. But yeah, definitely looking like I want to use some of these weapons. I'm starting to get a little bit excited for this now. Good to have the release date, which is the 23rd of September. So yeah, we get that gun pick up there automatically, which I think the animation here I think is exaggerated just for a bit of showmanship. As it pans around there, you see a little bit more into the distance, but it's very blurry, you can't really make too much out. A little bit of stylized flashing to emphasize how cool this gun is that we've just picked up. And we're on to second clip. So straight away we can see we're in the arid area with the white rocks. Still a Ripper style area, or connected to that, because you have this same architecture. The gun we see in the middle of the screen, that lines up with the gun we saw Flow carrying in the first trailer. It's a different gun, but it is in that same family of weapons, so the same manufacturer. Has a very interesting sight. I like this, whatever's going on with this, whether we get a sort of grid that's sort of an overlay to this iron sight. that definitely looks very different, and that's kind of what we're looking for. We're looking for new fun things to experiment with and enjoy as we, you know, go into the world of Borderlands 4. We have this enemy jumping at us here, which I don't think this is a Ripper. We see a bit more of this as the trailer progresses, and I think this is our like rebel faction, or it could just be just a general other group of people, but we get a little bit more of a look at the rebel faction in this one, so we'll examine that as we go. Yeah, you see the barrel is open on this one as well when it fires. That seems like a theme with this manufacturer, because that has the same sort of thing as the one in the clip with Flo, but it is definitely a different design of weapon. The light axe that we saw in the start cinematic for the first trailer, the first look trailer, that appears to be quite common, so we maybe will get a chance at melee weapons. I don't think we see any melee weapons in this video, but maybe they will be part of the game for us. This shot here is the same as the very first shot that we saw in the first look trailer when it was showing gameplay. It's a little bit further over to the right, because you have these buildings here, but you can see the kind of shacks behind, which is where the camera was positioned before. So the other shot was over from here, but it's the same location. Yet again, a bit strange that we're seeing just the same sort of direction at the same geometry. It's not making things feel very diverse and very big at the moment. But you can see the building is the same building, same posters in the same places, the same watery environment. The more Junker style city underneath the mesh in our potential mega city, underneath one of the Timekeeper's towers. We have this fun looking crocodile mutation kind of deal going on in front of us. This guy looks like a nice bit of ambient enemy to deal with. A very interesting grenade we get coming in here with a sort of pattern coming off of it, and yeah, sort of dodecahedron style explosion. I don't think the skull is relevant to that. I think that's an additional component, but good to see that from a slightly different angle. The gun we have here is a melee one. Looks probably SMG or assault rifle. It appears to have a blade attachment to it, which is quite common in Borderlands games, meaning that when you melee with that weapon, you normally get a melee bonus. So it's good to see that that's still intact. Sort of peculiar sort of scope to this one. I don't know if that means that it's just two simple sort of toggleable ones, or it's just has a bit of uniqueness to it. But let's move on. Got a nice sliding back. The movement in Borderlands 3 was good fun, so I'm glad to see that it looks like not too much is changing with just the general suite of movement for the character. A bunch of enemies doing stuff here, including this grenade that gets hurled directly at us. Melee one gun again. The giveaway being that sort of cylindrical circle at the front of the gun that's spinning. That's very traditional melee one, so I assume that that's the case. The enemy here drops, we see this a couple times, appears to drop a bit of armor, which I think is just health. So I think maybe they've just enabled it so the game can drop either shield or health at random. The arid area once again. You've got this tower in the background and this big wall, so that looks a bit intriguing. Let's carry on. This is the Viking character. Worth noting, the Viking in the previous trailer and maybe later in this one again, I think has a yellow arm, so there's either a skin variant going on here, or perhaps depending on what tree skills you have active, maybe that will alter what his kind of his augments are, like the mechanical components of his character. Or it may simply be that they've applied a shader, but it looks a little bit different. He still does the same ability here. We will see a second ability from him in this trailer, but let's move on. See the grass in the background there as it's connecting to the grassier area, which I think is further up here, and you can see in the background to the left, you can see one of the Timekeeper's towers So this is very close to a number of shots I think we saw in the last trailer. I'd almost say I think it's the other shots were to the left of this, looking this way, but from this very brief look, I don't think I have enough to be able to make any kind of case for that. Further internal of the red city, we've got the mesh, the grid in the sky, so presumably one of the caged megacities, if that's a thing. We've got more melee weapons at work. We have this guy here that has a bit of the... He looks like he's got the same suit as Exo, a bit of an Exo suit, but he's got no legs, so he's sort of crawling around but still firing at us. As the character on the left, which is a very similar character model to the one on the right, but they have different components. The one on the left, you can see as this guy dies from a thrown weapon, so we've got a TD or reload there. You can see that armor pops out above, so that's going to be a bit of health, I think. Just a bit of shield back, something like that. And then as he dies, this is where we see the cash money that we saw in that loot box at the start. But you can see that we've got yellow beams on this rather than white ones, so I'm not sure what the difference is there, if any. See that kind of Exo character there. Something a little bit different. Melee weapons at work. And then we get the character that we're playing as here, which I think is Exo. Has a bit of an Iron Bear change here, where he's jumping up into some sort of suit. Gets a secondary gun. And able to dispatch his foes. With a very large cannon explosion. A bit more armor falling on the right. Here we see the Siren using some form of ability. She blasts this guy to pieces with this kind of fireball she chucks out. It's pretty cool. We're here on the border to a new area that we haven't seen in the previous trailer. So it appears to be the white rock appears to be the white rock arid area, but merging onto some of the grass area where we then go into more of a tropical kind of theme. There's more sort of sand, and it's got vibes of the Headhunter Pack 5 from Borderlands 2, which was great fun. So it's nice to have that sort of juxtaposition of all the chaos and the darkness of the Borderlands games, but in a very, very aesthetically pleasing area. So that guy's dead, and I'm not sure if she has some carried on effect here, but she dispatches this person pretty quick as well. Worth noting, the gun they're holding is pretty gnarly. I think that is probably a gun that's in that same themed yellow one as the second clip we saw on this video, and the flow gun that I pointed out. It looks to be that same sort of vibe. I do wonder if this is going to be some adaptation of the Bandit guns from Borderlands 2, because there seems to be some other guns that are looking like they could be in the Bandit range. Yeah, it looks like maybe because the COV guns potentially are out of the picture now because they were a replacement for the Bandit guns from Borderlands 2, they might now be replaced by the Bandit guns coming back, and it's just this very, very kind of rough industrial style weapon. It doesn't really seem like the Bandit weapons. These ones seem a bit too kind of they're kind of low tech, but pretty sort of technological at the same time. As in they're sort of using like energy sources and stuff like that. So it's an interesting change for sure. This gun we've got here, maybe Vladov again. I guess you mean SMG or assault rifle. And that's pretty much it. You've got the bits of Fallen architecture in the background. Ripper, I keep saying Fallen. Ripper style architecture. Although I'm not convinced that these are necessarily Rippers, because these guys don't have as many mechanical components. The Rippers tend to be extremely augmented from what we've seen so far. You had a class mod just drop on the side there. Or relic, what do we call them now? Class mods, relics, whatever they're called. So they are confirmed to be in the game again. That person absolutely gone. Drops some more cash with a yellow beam. Back to the Viking gameplay. Maliwan gun, SMG or pistol. and they're fighting one of the Timekeeper's forces. This one appears to be a corrosive version. This area, I think, yet again, is another one we saw in the first trailer. So I think this is below the mountain with the big pink beams that go up the side. There's a bridge that goes across on the left here, and I believe it's the same area that we see. There's a few different shots we see from 2 different angles around this in the first trailer, and it looks like it matches that. We get to see one of the other Vikings' abilities here as he does a lunging punch. Again, noting that the arm is different than it was in the first trailer. The Timekeeper's kind of guy here, we get a little bit of a closer look at that. Still get a bit of a face vibe on the underneath of these things, because in that first trailer it really looked kind of like a skull vibe. Whether I wasn't sure whether maybe there was some component here where perhaps there was sort of, it wasn't necessarily a creature per se. It was maybe that this was like a sort of suit that someone was trapped in, and maybe sort of manipulated in that way. But nice to get a action shot on one of those and just see a bit more of what's going on with them. So I think this area here is attached to the rebel forces, like the ones we've seen posters of, and I think attached to the triangle group of people, for lack of a better description. This railing matches with the one the Viking was ground pounding near to in the first trailer. Again, we've got the grid in the sky here, so this is presumably in one of the megacity areas, if those are a thing. Nice little yellow bit of paint here on the side, showing that that's still an indicator for climbing. Some Timekeeper forces here, I think, just slightly different. We throw out 2 guns for a reload here that both explode, so I don't know if that's just some other indication of maybe a dual wield capacity, or whether it's just that the particular gun that person has as part of its reload just throws out 2 exploding guns. But I assume this is some money over to the left. Yellow beam again. Get a purple drop as this happens. This purple little kind of nugget you see there makes me think that Iridium is back. You see this in at least 2 places in the trailer, and I think rather than the Iridium blocks that we're used to, I think we're maybe going to be picking up Iridium crystals, so it's good to see that that is around as a currency, just with a little bit of a change. And that also ties in with the clip of Elpis in the first trailer, where we see that there is a bunch of Iridium growing out of Elpis and in crystal form. That seems to match. And this is Elpis, in my opinion, so it's a better angle and a better shot than we got in the first trailer, where I pointed out the guy with the red light blades was probably on Elpis. So we get the Moonstaff surface here, and you can see the scar in the sky, and what you're looking down on there is actually, this is looking from Elpis down onto Kairos in the distance. And then yeah, you can see the big tear that Lilith caused. Breakout. You've got just some sort of Ripper style sort of areas here, and just aged bits and pieces. This guy pulls a weird skull on a stick out and blows up, which is very typical Psycho. And we've got another gun here, which I'm leaning more towards Vladoff for a lot of these today, but maybe that's sort of more in the Torgi area things. Maybe similar to the pistol the Siren had in the clip with the Exo doing his light blade attack in the first trailer. This is the sort of sandier, sort of more tropically feeling area, and this I think is Flo that's getting yeeted here, and I think she actually activates a bit of a skill as she's flying backwards, so I think that this is extended by the fact that she's got that kind of thing in her kit. I think she has some abilities to be a bit more floaty with her movement, harkening back to some of the mechanics of the movement they put into the pre-sequel. And she does a little bit of a drop here into the water, and I was trying to look at this earlier, but as she drops there's something in the water, but I can't quite make it out. Just to point out, this is like I've looked at this a few times on a very small screen. This is my first time seeing this on a large screen. So, is that a reload thing she just did? Or is that a fish? Or is that a parrot? I don't know what that is. A bunch of parrots, a bunch of fish. She goes down there into what appears to be like knee-high water, so that should have hurt a lot, but either way, they do that for a nice switch, and I think we get the Siren character next. And then she is in what I think is like a base area for the kind of rebels in the game, this other sort of faction that seems to be hinted at a lot in the two trailers so far, and they leave murals, graffiti around that are showing, I think, some of their heroes, some of the people of the movement, as it were, and they're often signifying them with this triangle, which you see at the top of the room here. You get these triangles again, which I think probably ties into something to do with Lilith. I think Lilith has had a play in this. I've got a lot of other content to get to about that, but let's just keep on this for now. So you've got a bit of a flaming triangle. And so I think this area is related to them. You don't really see these people with as many exo components. They look a lot more kind of just like normal people, really. Sort of a little bit sort of yellowy with some of the gear that's on them. There's a bit of an attachment to the yellow triangle and what have you. But yeah, you can see they're a little bit more normal. Another one of those kind of exo guys crawling around. Another Maliwan gun. Once again, sort of pistol or SMG would be my closest guess, just from this very short little look. But something a bit different sights going on. Starting to see a good amount more variety in that regard. The lasso ability again. So this is what I think that we learn from that kind of elven character in the first one, as I pointed out in the previous video. This is the Exo character, and he appears to be running with a Jacobs shotgun. You've got another node down here, so there seem to be more of those popping up as alternative ways. Excuse me, alternative ways to navigate the game. So that's good, and I think that's a skill we will learn part way, and I think that is basically going to be because if the world is open, they're trying to block off certain areas so that we don't go too many places too quick. So I think that will be a skill we'll learn or acquire partway through the game, which then gives us further access to previously inaccessible areas. So this area on the left here, I'm not entirely sure because of the geometry, but it feels like that clip we saw earlier with the siren was actually down here, and you're sort of looking back in this direction, but that is just a very loose idea. Just something about the geometry sort of feels familiar from the shots earlier. And yeah, he's got this kind of double jump as he comes out there as well with the Exo, so that's good additional movement. Once again, might be a skill that all of the Vault Hunters might learn as we go. That's kind of weird how that comes out there. I guess that's just him throwing the grenade, and it's just a little bit detached from the animation. Into another one of the, or near one of the city walled areas. I had a suspicion about the Rippers maybe breaking into one of these things. And we've got these digging bits of equipment here, as if they've sort of tunneled in. These are sort of similar to the construction of the spaceships that we see landed on Elpis as well in the first trailer. I think this is Flo here doing a particular ability. The sort of the hands imply that it's her. Very, very crazy ability. Seems to give a rainbow debuff, I guess, to this character here, which would be fun to have that as a sort of thing where burn type is covered on all bases, and then the explosion this thing does in the background is very dramatic, and it also has some sort of almost Wonderland-y components to it. It almost has a bit of a cartoony explosion after this guy gets wiped. Either way, that's yeah, it's a bit of a showpiece. You have this vehicle in the air. I'm not sure if that's just an ambient bit of an ambient sort of machine that's just moving around as part of the scenery, or whether that's got sort of a function, or if that's spawning in enemies. back to Red Light City. We've got some Timekeeper forces here again. Got the hotel there, and I think we've got another sign off to the side. Yeah, drinks, so it's just a bit of a general cyberpunk theme to this area, but a bit deeper in, a lot more of a comprehensive look than anything else we've seen so far of this area. A little bit more of an Asian vibe I'm picking up this time, which I like. A lot of people were very keen on Athena's in Borderlands 3 and wanted more. So yeah, it's got that scav icon in the background, same as we saw on one of the pipes at the start. Switching here. I originally thought this was Flo, and maybe she was floating a bit, but that actually looks like the Viking's hand from this angle, so something, either like a man cannon or something that he's come off there, but it does seem like he's drifting a bit rather than just having been launched. So whether that's to do with the particular item that he's holding at the moment, but he's chucking out a bunch of rockets. We got those exo characters on the floor again. Got a loot chest in the background there, just a white one by the look of it. This is one of the variations of the Timekeeper's forces. Got this multi-grenade deal going on with that kill there. Bit more of a bigger boss looking character. This guy appears attached to the vegetation in the area. That seems like it's a theme. And we had that sort of plant style enemy in the first one, and we see those again in a moment. So I guess there is going to be some sort of infection or some sort of plant contagion that's some sort of outbreak of something sort of part, or, you know, an organic kind of mush. Here we basically wipe out my thoughts towards the Siren special ability, which I thought she was maybe going to be a bit of a gunzerker on steroids, but this and the fireball from earlier definitely make me feel like there's some other kind of vibe they're going for with her, a bit more of a sort of cyber gothy kind of feel, with some more sort of ethereal kind of abilities, where here it appears that she's calling up a double that's sort of then going to be like a kind of death, like a bit of a not a companion, but something that's going to go out and do a bit of damage for her. So that's definitely different. And we got another gun here that's a little bit different sort of style than anything I think we've seen so far. I think the angles and the type of construction there, although it's not that sort of yellow we've seen most of the time on the gun with Flo and the second clip from this one and one of the enemies had, I think it probably is most likely to fit in that family of weapons. But this is pretty much getting towards the end now. So we've got, and then the last clip here, we might be seeing our first sniper rifle. There's a heck of a lot of things going on with that gun. Could just be an assault rifle, but it looks like pretty long scope. So that looks like a good gun. Looks like a bit of a different art style, a little bit different construction. So we've definitely got a lot more variety going on with locations, a lot more variety going on with the abilities and the weapons. So I'm a lot more hyped for this now. I'd say it's still maybe missing some of the character of Borderlands. And I do find it a little bit odd that they've reused so many locations. I assume that's just they're trying to keep things under wraps and not give too much away, but you know, at the same time you worry that it's not going to be done right. Thanks very much for watching this quick look at the release date trailer for Borderlands 4. If you did enjoy this, please do check out my other content. Please do like, subscribe and comment, and I'll catch you next time, Vault Hunters. Take it easy, have a great day, peace out.